I was very intrigued for the fact that you will deal with something so personal, so emotional, in a way to teach other people about this. And I guess the basic idea of science, of technology, is to make life better for other people, no?
Sure. And it's not only in making better systems that allow us to be more efficient at curing disease or more efficient at changing behavior. Ultimately, art is also a way to ask questions. And so I think that we can use science and technology to ask questions even if we don't have the answers yet. And so that's what I think the power of using science and technology to make art is it allows us to explore those questions in new ways.
You have another kids. You have it's three or four more kids. Four more kids.
Yeah.
Are they? I don't know if they are old enough to understand what you are doing and their personal family story.
Well, our children were, 2 and 3 when Joel was diagnosed. And then we've since had 2 other children. And so our oldest is now turning 13 this year. And Elijah and Isaac and Caleb were all part of making the game. And so they contributed their voices and some of their artwork into the experience. So it was very much a family effort.
Well, for me, it was very touching and very, it's kind of a little bit difficult to see because a very, again, emotional and I think, unfortunately, many people can relate to that struggle and many people doesn't want to talk about that because it's difficult, it's hard.
Yeah.
But now, I mean, this jump between connecting that emotional, loving experience with science and with the teaching of this type of innovation, how are you bridging that phase?
Let's see, how are we bridging it? Well, I think there is a tendency to separate groups into, well, here are the science people, and here are the math people, and here are the art people, and here are the business people, right? We all have our separate groups. But our personal stories allow us to connect in very common ways, right? And so what I find is by encouraging us to share our stories and do it by connecting all of those different groups in projects like video games and in projects like websites and interactive and VR and all of those different things. They allow us to work together. And so opportunities like being brought down here to Tijuana to speak to students at the university that range from business school students to graphic design students to engineering students, and encouraging them to tell their personal stories, to share what they've experienced and how those experiences have changed them will have a cascading effect. Because we find, like, what we found in putting our game out there is that people don't just consume the game. People don't just consume the game. They talk about it and they write about it and they create more creative work out of it. And so I feel like these kind of projects engender more creativity, and those stories spread. So.